All right, welcome back to Freedom Hawk Live. I'm Dean, and I'm here with Annie.
Okay, first let me clarify something.
What's that?
Only you call me Annie.
And I'm the only one that calls you Annie?
You and several select people call me Annie.
Oh, okay.
I'm Anna to the rest of the world.
Okay. Anna, sitting in for Andrew. And it's been a busy week this week, so thank you for coming back to check out our channel. And please hit the like button. We always appreciate the comments in the comment section. So anyway, it's been a busy week, though. Last week started off Monday morning. First thing, we got a Supreme Court decision on whether or not Trump could be on the ballot. And it was, it really kind of, I think, set the tone for really the last 10 days. They came out with a 9-0 decision and said that the state is not allowed to keep him off the ballot. So do you want to...
Completely unanimous decision. The liberals blew their minds.
Yeah. It's weird for a state to try and dictate what people are allowed to vote for in a federal election.
That's right. And now Maine,
and I think that was really why
down as well.
I think that's why they came down with a unanimous decision, was because it was
surprising to me that it was unanimous.
I think that was kind of shocking to a lot of people. I think there was an expectation that it might be. It's good to see the courts make a nonpartisan decision.
It was refreshing.
Yeah. So, but that really set the tone. And going into Super Tuesday with the primaries, which as of last night, Tuesday, March 12th, it is confirmed that our two nominees for the Democrats and Republicans are going to be Joe Biden and Donald Trump, a rematch from 2020. Are you surprised by this?
Here's what I find ironic. Trump won in Colorado, where he was supposed to have been taken off the ballot. So I think that's ironic.
Right? Yeah, I mean, we'll go over a few of these because there were some really fun things that came out of these, the primaries, especially the Super Tuesday primaries. I think yesterday, the most noteworthy thing was Georgia, where this big federal case is going on. And I think people are more caught up now with Fani Willis and the prosecutor hiring her boyfriend or lover to be the prosecutor on the case and
lying about it.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, she put herself in a compromising situation, from what I can tell watching this. I mean,
put herself in several compromising positions, but
well, I hear that, right? We're not allowed to talk about those. Anyway, yeah, I mean, but just from what I gathered, the biggest problem was that she lied. And where she could have, it probably would have, it would have been suspicious and weird, but it might not have been illegal if she'd have just told the truth about what was happening.
There was no transparency.
Yeah, and instead they, it sounds like she's fabricated some things or lied through omission or whatever happened. Yeah. So, but the Georgia primary yesterday, Donald Trump beat Nikki Haley 85-15 or something. Like, I mean, it was basically 85% to 15%. I mean, less a little bit of error for the people that just, didn't vote or voted other or whatever they do, right?
See, here's the thing. I represent that part of America that doesn't really listen to the news much because we're tired of the BS. And so I only get bits and pieces. You're telling me now that he won by 85%
in the Georgia primary, and the reason it's noteworthy is in New Hampshire. In New Hampshire, they said that she beat him, but Democrats were allowed to vote in the Republican primary. Exactly. There. And so,
but he won New Hampshire.
No, I think he lost New Hampshire.
No. He won New Hampshire. He lost Vermont.
It was close.
It was Vermont.
It was Vermont. He lost. Okay, excuse me.
Vermont he lost, but yeah, he won. But he still won in New Hampshire.
Okay, it was Vermont.
But it was close.
It was close in New Hampshire. But my point is, these states where the Republican primary was close allowed Democrats to vote, and we've been hearing this. We've been hearing that this is possibly why they're so close. Georgia, what do you I mean, Georgia and even her own home state of South Carolina.
I was going to say,
we're not close at all.
Didn't she totally lost it in South Carolina.
He beat her by double. I mean, I think it was like 60 to 30 or something, 60% to 30%. And
where was the state that she lost to by double
Nevada?
digits? She lost to none of the above, none of the.
Nevada. She lost to none of these candidates. So basically, the Nevada voters, 14% chose none of these candidates.
Chose an empty seat.
Chose an empty seat versus Nikki Haley. So she got about 7% of the vote there, and the vote for nobody was double her vote, which is absolutely absurd. That's not supposed to happen. And the same thing happened to Biden in Michigan. Where Dearborn,
I believe. Dearborn, Michigan.
The noteworthy thing is that the Democrats aren't showing out to the polls for the primaries. So it may be too early to determine why. Is it because they just know he's going to be the candidate? Do they just they know Biden's going to win and so they're not worried about voting for him? Is that do they know there is a primary, first of all?
I think they've lost hope.
Do Democrat voters understand that there's a primary happening?
I don't know that they do or not. I mean, I think they're being told. Obviously they're told. They're taken to the polls and held, by the hand, taken to the polls to vote and vote for our candidate.
Or their vote is taken to the poll for them.
Exactly.
That's the other thing.
Exactly.
I mean, if we went by the Michigan primary, Trump had 4 times as many people show up to vote for him than Joe Biden did.
That's right.
That's a fact. He cannot lose with those numbers. So how are Democrats getting to the poll in November if they win?
Well,
like are we expecting that 4 times as many people are going to show up in November that showed up for the primary?
I personally hope not.
Yeah.
I want my candidate to win. But here's something interesting. Here's an interesting fact. I'm putting that in quote, that word in quotes. RFK Jr. didn't he announce that he is running on the independent ticket?
He was running as an independent?
I believe he's going to be running as an independent. Now they're saying that the polls are saying that he will pull more Trump voters than he would Biden voters. I cannot believe that. Yeah. I seriously cannot believe that he would pull more from Trump than he would from Biden.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible he pulls from both a little bit. I don't.
Absolutely. I just can't believe that he would pull more from Trump than he would from Biden.
I find that, well, unless Biden just doesn't
because
have any,
unless
Biden's numbers are so low.
They're so low. I can't imagine that everybody that voted for him, and it wasn't 81 million, but I can't imagine that everybody who voted for him would vote for him again. I mean, obviously there are going to be people who will vote for him.
There are a lot of people that have regret, but there's always going to be the holdouts. There's always going to be the party line people that just are hard headed and they don't really even want to hear any of the issues. They just vote D. They vote D. One thing I will say about Republicans, far less of them just vote R. Nowadays, I think, 15, 20 years ago, a lot more people on the conservative side just voted R. But I think conservatives are a lot more picky about who our candidates are now.
Of course. But I've got to tell you that I didn't used to vote R all the way. Mm-hmm. I didn't used to. Yeah, now I'm finding myself voting more and more R all the way down.
I'm not criticizing, because I realize that for most of those people, the other option isn't an option. So you have to vote, you have to vote that side. Like you have to, but I think Democrats are constantly criticizing conservatives for being split and not getting along. But I think we're more conscious of who our next nominee is going to be. And so within the Republican Party or the conservative movement, you have more potential candidates and more groups of people looking at those candidates and saying, this is why we want this person, versus the other group saying we want this person for these.
No matter what.
In the end, they're going to come together and they're going to rally behind one of them for the most part.
Then you have the never Trumpers.
I think that
who will shoot
group
themselves in the foot just to spite themselves. Yes.
Yeah, they're still out there, but I think among the political class, the actual office holders, the actual politicians that are serving in our government, there are certainly never Trumpers that will always be never Trumpers because they've run on that. That has been their identity as a politician the last 8 years.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of them are retiring now.
I don't know that it's as common among voters. And maybe just living where we live, we don't see it as much, but I just don't know that is as common among voters. Not conservative voters. I mean, there's certainly never Trumpers on the liberal side.
Right.
But I don't think conservative voters are hardline never Trumpers.
There are quite a few
really?
of them. There are.
Quite a few?
There are. When I was in Colorado, and I lived in Colorado, and I was there.
You're in a blue state.
Yes, but I'm talking within the Republican Party, where I was very involved with the Republican Party. There were some hardcore never Trumpers, but
that's been a few years.
That's
been a few years. Have you talked to those people?
No,
lately?
I actually cut them out.
Yeah,
because they were so absurd and so full of hatred that I couldn't deal with them anymore.
It would be interesting, and maybe if you get some time, reach out to some of those people and just see where they're at today. Yeah, really? That bad? Oh, okay. Well, because it would be interesting to get that perspective as to, are they still that hard line? I mean, some of the never Trumpers came around. Ted Cruz, most notably, who ran against Trump.
I remember in Colorado, Ted Cruz won.
Yeah, I mean, Ted Cruz
won the primary.
Was very much an anti-Trump, never Trump guy when he was running against him. They made up somewhere after the election, after Trump won, they made up and he supported him. But it was
when the economy was rocking and people had jobs and prices were low and interest rates were low. I mean, what a difference between then and now, where everything seems so dark and so bad and bleak.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that kind of leads into, we've had the Super Tuesday primaries. The results are more or less in, at least enough to say these are going to be the two nominees. And the timing with the State of the Union was perfect because Joe Biden comes out on stage, and one of the first things he talked about, it really got under my skin, was when he said inflation was down this year.
Oh, I know. I almost busted a gut.
Right.
Okay, because I laughed so hard when he said that.
Yeah.
How could he be taken seriously? I mean, when he starts off just with that, how do you take him seriously?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't take a fool to understand that we didn't go back. We didn't reduce the amount of inflation. It was just less inflation than the prior year, but it's on top of the prior year and the prior year. And we've had 40%, 50%. And you go to the
store, you buy 3 things and it costs you $50.
Oh, I know. It's
with no meat and no. Yeah. It's crazy.
As a single person who doesn't do a lot of grocery shopping, I go in the grocery store and I'm completely baffled by, I buy coffee creamer, orange juice, maybe 3 or 4 items.
That's $50 right there.
And it's $40 or $50. I'm like, how did I just spend $30 or $40 and I only walked out with 3 or 4 things? And then how does a family afford that? And I hope people are paying attention. They have to be. I mean,
Dean, energy prices have gone up. I mean, they have tripled or quadrupled in a year. In a year, people, insurance, just everything has gone up so much that, I mean, to tell people that inflation is down and that people know when they're buying things. Yeah. When they can't afford things, when they need 2 to 3 jobs to make ends meet.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that I feel very strongly the next big crisis, worldwide crisis, is food and water. And we've talked about this a little bit, but
food and water, and they're gonna shut the energy. They're gonna shut the grid down.
Energy is going to be part of it. Energy will be part of it.
It's going to be really bad.
Yeah, I think energy may even be a fallout of trade sanctions. And one of the things that
or
happened,
a terrorist attack.
well, one of the things that happened in the last week, more or less, a few days, is that China is stopping import of American wheat. And wheat and corn are two of the biggest agricultural products that come out of the United States. We're known for our wheat production. We're known for our corn production, probably even more so. The Southeast Asian diet is largely based on rice and noodles, and the noodles are made from wheat, which comes from the United States. And so if they are banning wheat imports from the U.S., that's going to hit our agricultural sector,
of course,
very, very hard. Now, maybe that brings the cost of food down at home, and that could be a net positive for families here. But it's all part of this economic sparring between, the United States and,
I just don't think
and
it's
allies
enough.
trying to keep the semiconductors from the Chinese military, and them saying, well, we're just not going to buy other stuff from you, or we're not going to, it's going tit for tat back and forth, and it's going to be bad, Uh-oh.
Excuse me.
There is a mute button, I think, on your thing, but I'll have to show you where that is next time. I'll have to show you where that is next time. I've done it too, so I get it.
Can we shut the camera off too?
Yeah, I have a button where I can swap it to just you, so I can sneeze and off screen if I had to. But anyway, we're figuring it out.
Excuse me.
Yeah. So anyway, I do think the next big global crisis, and I mean big global crisis, I'm not talking about like these fabricated news items, but I'm talking about serious crisis is food and water.
Food, water, and then disease X.
Yeah, disease X is like that's going to be the.
But I don't think people are going to take that seriously.
This last one was kind of was a fiasco. Like this last one, it was mixed messages. We couldn't get a straight answer on, anything from personal safety to prevention.
People just aren't going to be believing it. And, these vaccines that they're coming out with, they're all mRNA now, even for pets.
Yeah.
And people just aren't going to be doing this.
Well, we'll see how some of this stuff affects it, but hopefully, maybe China not buying wheat from us will maybe make it more available here, maybe bring some of the price down. But in the end, I don't think it's enough. In the end, I think it's going to harm our economy more than help it.
Of course.
That's
what I'm saying. I just don't think it's enough. Those two things to be, to have an oversupply of them. I don't think it's enough to drive prices down in other things. It's just maybe in corn and wheat, but
the other piece to this is the expansion of NATO, and Sweden, of course, just joined NATO this week, which is great. That was part of the plan for a long time.
You think it's great?
I think
Trump was trying to get us out of NATO. He did get us out of NATO.
I would like to see more of the NATO countries spending their own money.
Right. They need to pay us.
So if they're willing to join and contribute to it, I think it's a good thing. NATO as an organization might be outdated. Maybe the enemy isn't Russia anymore, but it has been for a very long time, and so they need to, reevaluate what is the purpose of NATO. But you could say the same thing about the United Nations. Like,
I can say a lot of things about the United Nations. None of them good.
It's just as much of a swamp as
absolutely. It's a swamp. It's needs to be dismantled.
Well, what was interesting, I was watching a thing on Gaddafi the other night, and Gaddafi, he gave that one speech. He didn't show up to the UN meetings for a very long time, and the first time after, I want to say it was 3 or 4 decades, he shows up, gives a speech, and he got in there and he talked about how unfair the UN was, in his opinion, of course, because it was formed around having permanent members, but every country, big or small, being equal. And he has a point there. You can't have equality if there are permanent members that can veto anything that the rest of the group tries to do. And so, he did have a point about that. The Security Council veto makes it difficult for the UN to do anything valuable, especially when those Security Council members don't even agree with each other. I mean, they went from being sort of like frenemy allies at the end of World War II to straight up worldwide competitors with each other. And so I think they just get bogged down in nonsense.
Minutia.
Yeah. And so, NATO, I mean, I think Sweden joining NATO, not a bad thing in itself. It does present challenges for Russia because they're not going to be happy about it. I mean, the first thing we're going to do is go in and probably build a bunch of air bases, and Russia's going to see that as a threat. What we always do, right? Yeah, and Russia's going to see that as a threat because they have maintained this doctrine that NATO is there to prevent the spread of communism and the spread of Russia, and so we'll see. It's a but dangerous
Russia,
thing.
correct me if I'm wrong, Russia's not communist anymore.
If they ever were, I mean, they're still socialist. Is there much difference?
No.
Is there much difference?
No, but I thought that they weren't communist.
So what are they? What would you describe them as?
I honestly don't know.
I mean, they have an election actually coming up. Putin is running for re-election here in the next month, I think, in April.
And the opposition leader was
that was the old opposition. That was the old opposition Navalny.
Okay.
Yeah, that was his opposition leader a couple cycles ago.
As I told you, I represent America that does not watch the news. Yeah. Because we're tired of it.
Yeah, that was his old opposition, but he does have an opponent in the election, and You're probably right. Maybe Sweden joining isn't a great thing. Maybe I should take that back. I don't know.
I'm just not. I'm kind of opposed to NATO because we're always the ones having to pay and be the world's police. And
that's a good point.
And Trump was saying that we need to get paid. Mm-hmm. We're the ones who need to get paid.
Right. Well, from the perspective of trade and economics, it probably has some value in terms of trade partners. And the reason I say that is with the looming potential for a food crisis. Sure. The discovery of phosphate in Norway is I think huge, and the trade in the Baltic coming from the North Sea and stuff. I think
time to start investing in Norway.
Yeah, I mean, it may very well be. They're saying that this phosphate reserve, which is it's on the tip of Norway. I don't know how much Sweden would benefit from it, but because most of it appears to be in Norway, but it's on kind of the tip where the two countries kind of come together. And they're saying that the potential reserve is bigger than the remaining oil reserves in Saudi Arabia.
That's pretty damn big.
It's about 24 trillion with a T dollars.
Holy.
Yeah, I know.
Holy
so if they start mining phosphate in Norway, you have a NATO ally producing, fertilizer and hopefully trading with their other allies. So I think from that perspective,
it'd be stupid not to.
I think from that perspective, the future of NATO in that context is probably something that we want to remain a part of, but they need to start paying for their own defense, some of these countries. And Norway's going to have the money to do it. Okay.
Obviously.
Norway's not the problem. It's all the other countries in NATO that don't
have the money,
spend money on any of their defense. Right. And they
join NATO just so yes. that they get the protection of the United States of America.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I see how it works.
Right. I mean, and the other thing he talked about in the State of the Union was aid to Gaza. And when you go back to a couple months ago, around Christmas and New Year's, Joe Biden was very pro-Israel on the Gaza issue and supporting their right to defend themselves and
so maybe all those protesters at the Capitol protesting for Gaza and for Palestine, free Palestine. Maybe they got to him. Who knows?
Who knows? I mean, I think it's coming from in his party for sure.
Of course it is.
I don't know if it's coming from, is it coming from Obama? Is it coming from his cabinet members? Is it coming from, the other
It's coming from
coming from the
Bernie. Did
deep
you hear
state.
Bernie?
Bernie, what did Bernie say?
Oh, Bernie wants to ceasefire for Gaza.
Of course he does.
And
of course he does.
Yeah, he is shaming Israel.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing how quick people are to switch sides when it benefits them, when they can get FaceTime.
It's just ironic when Bernie is Jewish.
Oh, is he?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Bernie Sanders, yes.
Wow. It's ironic how quick some of these people change their opinions when the opinion doesn't serve their political interest of staying in office.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah. And I mean, I think Biden, he's kind of an old school Democrat. I think he originally was genuinely pro-Israel as far as them going in there.
Super racist.
As far as them going in and getting the hostages back, but I think his party's putting the pressure on to like, hey, we got a humanitarian crisis here. Self-inflicted, probably. Hamas is very much ingrained in the culture of the people there, and we could spend all night talking about why, but
indoctrination.
Yeah. So I mean, he did talk a lot about Gaza and building a port. Did you catch that part?
I may have fallen asleep at that point.
Did you fall asleep? I'm surprised Joe stayed awake as long as you did.
For the most part, I was awake, but there was a moment there where I kind of fell asleep.
I mean, can they just manage his sundowners dementia stuff that well, or was it drugs? Like I gotta know. How did they? It
was Adderall. Joe on speed.
Adderall and Red Bull. They just doped him up before the show. Like, and
they just made a senile old man angry.
He came across as a little heated.
He was angry.
I think, yeah. I mean,
and he's not having it.
He did a little bit for his image of being low energy. He did a little bit for that.
Speed
at least.
Will do that to you. Yeah.
Who knows? It's
there was a doctor, Carol Lieberman, she's a forensic psychiatrist, and she was saying that based on his demeanor, his hand movement, that it showed that he's been, how did she put it?
Pharmacologically medicated.
Psychopharmacology helped.
Wow.
Psychopharmacology helped.
So performance enhancers.
Something like that.
Enhancers, right? Like, oh my gosh, are we gonna start having to drug test these people before they speak in public? Is that like, you're not allowed to talk in public?
And then when he goes off script, it's never good. It's never good when Joe Biden goes off road.
I think his party worries when he does go off script. I mean, I think
the terrified looks on their faces,
especially his speechwriters back there going, "Oh God, please get back! I did not write this."
Circle back, Joe. Circle back.
Exactly. God. Oh my God. Yeah. He was more energetic than we've seen, and there's certainly when he gets up and speaks in public, he's a different person every time. That's clear. I mean,
you think it could be multiple personality disorder?
No, we just don't know which Joe we're getting. We don't know if we're getting the fragile, senile old man that loves his icy cream, or if we're getting the hyped up, angry old man, get off my lawn. Like, which one?
The crotchety old man. I'm not having it.
I told you don't cross that line. Didn't he say something to Netanyahu?
I'm gonna go get some ice cream.
Yeah, we don't know which one we're getting, but what was really concerning is it felt like a lot of the things he said just were not true.
We're not true. How many lies did they count? Like 33 lies? Something like that. 31, 33 lies, 30 lies. I don't know.
The stream I was watching was counting how many times he stumbled over his own words. Yeah, or said the wrong person's name, or said the wrong thing, or
talking to dead people.
Yeah. Some of them were just embarrassing and and possibly even hurtful for some of the people that were there as guests.
Well,
so they were, I mean, the family from Georgia that lost their daughter.
Laken Riley. What did he call her? Lincoln Riley.
That was where did that come from? Where did that come from? And they were in the audience, weren't they?
They were.
So as a guest of the president,
they were guests. No, they were guests of Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh, is that what happened?
I believe so.
Oh, he didn't invite them?
No, I believe they were. That's why Marjorie Taylor Greene kept saying, "Say her name."
Oh, is that what she was shouting? I could hear her shouting on the.
She even gave him a pin with her face and name on it, and he said, "I can say Lincoln Riley." Lincoln.
Yeah.
It
was hard to watch.
I wanted to reach through
and then there was
TV screen and just
then there was the father of the Marine.
The Marine. No, he got arrested.
Yeah.
He got arrested for heckling him.
Right.
Okay, so when does this happen? When we get a dictatorship.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, that's where I think where we're going with.
That's where we're at. We have a dictatorship.
Yeah.
When he's going after his political opponents with the IRS and with the DOJ and the FBI.
Certain other politicians, and we don't have to say names, but certain other politicians would have acknowledged that person.
His predecessor, you mean?
Maybe would have possibly acknowledged that person.
How many times did he say his predecessor? He
won't say the name.
He won't say the name.
He won't say the name, will he? It's weird. It's weird, but it's almost like Beetlejuice, or like saying the name gives it power, you know? Mm-hmm. But yeah, this aid to Gaza thing, he mentioned building this port. And so I started digging into like, how does this happen? And our U.S. Navy and the Marines both have each about a dozen ships specifically for this task. Okay. I mean, our tax money has paid for these ships that sit, and when they need to put a port up for an invasion, or for, in this case, humanitarian aid, there's about a dozen of these ships in each, the Navy and the Marines. You know what these ships cost?
How much?
About $500 million a piece.
Oh.
Okay. So there's about $12 billion roughly, just by the count that I looked at, in these ships. We can't spend $12 billion to secure our border. Now, I understand what's going on in Gaza's wrong. Like, it's terrible. It's hard to watch.
Well, what happened in Israel was wrong too.
It was very wrong. We should be, we shouldn't even be getting involved in that if we can't take care of ourselves here. And that's my point. Like,
okay, so people are getting screwed. People are losing their homes because they can't afford their mortgage payments anymore, because they can't make ends meet. Mm-hmm. But you have illegals crossing the border every day.
By the thousands,
getting handed debit cards and phones and lodging. They're being housed. Yeah. And now, which state? Oh, Denver. Denver is asking residents to house migrants.
Yeah. The Quartering Act. Remember reading about the Quartering Act in history?
No, I don't.
So when the British tried to tell the colonialists that they had to house and quarter British
troops.
Right. Okay.
They flipped them off with the
exactly. And so that is specifically prohibited by our Constitution. Okay, it's part of the right to search and seizure.
I guess the Denver mayor hasn't read the Constitution.
This is so bizarre. But they're putting these people in New York, and the people in the New York residents seem to be really upset about this, but they're filling up their hotels with
the Roosevelt.
Immigrants. Yeah, I mean they're people are living in airports in New Jersey. I keep seeing all these videos of people living in the airport.
Yeah,
and our government's flying them around. I mean, they're sending. They're not only
Biden is flying in illegals into the country.
Yeah, they're going back and forth to Colombia and Venezuela and next is going to be Haiti. Because Lord knows
we're going to be invaded by the Haitians. No. What's happening over there now? Now there's cannibalistic gangs.
So that has been going on for a year now, and
I just heard about it now.
And this is, for folks at home watching this, like, if you haven't heard about this stuff going on in Haiti, it's been going on for a very long time. Last year they had civil uprising. People were fed up with all the drugs and the gangs, so they started, murdering gang leaders in the street, and it's gruesome. It's stuff that I hesitate to
even talk
go
about
into depth about it on here, but last year they were pulling people out of their homes and dismembering them in the street. Well, now, and of course, as you can imagine, the criminals and the gangs are fighting back, and so now you have it's just mass chaos. The president of Haiti couldn't even land his own airplane in his own country.
That's right.
Yeah, and so they diverted him, I believe, to the U.S. Virgin Islands, or to Puerto Rico, excuse me. And he's just hanging out in Puerto Rico until it blows over, I guess, because they can't even land his plane.
You see that blowing over anytime soon?
No, I mean, if they land the plane in his home country, where his constituents are, I can only imagine what they'll do to him.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like, as soon as that
cannibalistic gangs, so they're obviously eating each other.
Well, that goes back to the food crisis that I mentioned. When people are running out of food, and of course Haiti is an island, they grow food there, but it is an island still, and they grow chickens, and they have cows, and just like we do, but it is an island. It is an island, and when you run out of food,
you got people.
Well, in a place like with what's going on there, people get desperate, and what do? They go in their neighbor's backyard and they take the chickens and they slaughter them, and they eat them, and then they're gone, and there's no more chickens. And then they go steal the goats, and then they go steal the cows, and pretty soon there's no livestock. And nobody's growing anymore.
And then there's
none's being imported. Okay, you don't have UN peacekeepers showing up with a port to import aid.
With aid.
That's my point.
With humanitarian aid.
That's my point.
Now, what happened to all the humanitarian aid that the Clintons were supposed to have given to Haiti several years ago? What happened there?
Yeah, that probably went into
epic fail.
I would say it's probably in a campaign fund somewhere.
Pay to play, kind of thing. Yeah, all the Haitian children were taken to Epstein Island
or FTX. That money disappeared. I guarantee that money disappeared. I would be shocked if any of it stayed in Haiti.
Of course not. It all went into the Clintons' coffers.
Speculatively, maybe it went somewhere. Somebody, it's like all the money going to Ukraine. Like, where is this money going to? What are we buying?
Zelensky's nose.
Because we're sending the weapons there. We're sending him weapons. So he's not. I mean, is he actually buying weapons with the money? Because apparently everybody's just giving him weapons. So what is he buying with it?
Cocaine.
Maybe boats, cocaine.
He's snorting it.
Buy large mansions, maybe. I don't know. Who knows?
His wife is going shopping, spending $1 million in New York.
Really?
Did you not hear about that?
No.
She went shopping in New York City and spent about $1 million.
That's absurd. That's
what we're doing. That we're giving them money to do this.
Yeah.
And this was a few months ago. Yeah,
that's my point, is like, so we look at the aid to Gaza, and certainly there's people there that are desperate. I don't think they're any more desperate than the people in Haiti right now. Like, where people are eating their neighbor.
That is so.
If that's happening in Gaza, we haven't heard about it yet, but both situations are horrible.
It's horrific.
I've also got a list of other places. Nigeria has civil unrest. Rwanda, they're on a much smaller scale. Rwanda and Congo are having conflicts on their border. Venezuela is trying to claim property from Guyana. Why aren't we interfering in any of those conflicts?
It doesn't benefit us in any way.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, why don't we have a Navy or Marine ship building a port in Haiti to bring in aid to the starving people that are literally eating their neighbors?
Well, that is going to be a human trafficking situation right there in Haiti.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's unfathomable that we go halfway across the world to get involved in this other thing for reasons that are almost entirely political. What do the Palestinian people have to offer us as a nation? And I'm not saying that's the reason to do good and to help if people need help, but we're going over there for political reasons.
Always.
That's it. It's political.
It's
pandering.
It's political, and it's to benefit us.
Yeah, and enough people have watched enough pain and suffering. I don't even want to call it injustice, because it wouldn't be happening if Hamas hadn't gone in and taken hostages and done some terrible things to them. But it is pain and suffering nonetheless. And I think enough people are seeing this, they're watching it on TV, and they're sad and they feel guilty, they feel bad. But you don't see all these other places where just as equally bad or worse things are happening. You know, Nigeria, the gangs in Nigeria went into a school and kidnapped 200 young girls.
This is Boko Haram, right?
I don't know that it was Boko Haram. This just happened over the weekend.
See, I didn't hear about this.
Yeah, this just happened end of last week, in the last 4 or 5 days. And they went in and kidnapped 200 school children. This is different from when Boko Haram did it. You know, Boko Haram has done this many times.
Right.
And it probably happens on more often than we want to admit. But UN peacekeepers have pulled out of Nigeria because it's so dangerous. And in Rwanda, the peacekeepers are helping fight. The peacekeepers. There's videos of peacekeepers showing the Congolese villagers how to shoot mortars.
Well, there were some UN peacekeepers that were involved in Israel, in the attack on Israel as well. I mean, they're
but we're not showing up with boats full of food and resources for these places. And yet we have people pouring across the southern U.S. border
because the cameras aren't there.
Exactly. And that's what it really comes down to, is where the cameras aren't there and the focus isn't there, and there's no political
grandstanding.
Yeah. Well, there's no political advantage to be gained from it.
Well,
right?
I mean, right. But that's what I'm saying is
the premise that we're doing all these things out of the goodness of our American hearts is
that's a total load of crap.
Complete fabrication. It's so hard not to cuss on here when we start.
It really is. It really is. I'm really controlling myself right now, and I'm having a really hard time with that.
Yeah.
But yes. And then what about the Boeing whistleblower?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can shift gears. We sort of beat the aid thing to get to, pretty hard, but yeah, that was a really strange thing that happened this week. Was were we aware of all of these airline issues, with whether they're maintenance issues or manufacturers issues? In the last few months, you had the famous door incident in Alaska. There's
wasn't there one just the other day? Another one?
I don't know about a door plug issue, but there was one plane from LATAM that took a nosedive all of a sudden. There was another plane where the pilot and co-pilot fell asleep. Now, what they don't tell you is when you lose cabin pressure, you pass out because you can't breathe. So I don't know if that's what happened.
That's what happened with Payne Stewart's plane.
Yeah. So, I mean, all these aircraft issues keep popping up. You had the plane that caught on fire on the runway in Japan at Nagano.
That's right.
Or not Nagano.
I don't remember where it was. I know it was in Japan, but
I'm trying to remember the name of the airport. I've been there once. It's been 20 years. But anyway, you have all these airplanes that are catching on fire,
all of a sudden
losing landing gear as they're taking off or landing. Engines, sheet metal coming off the engines and off the wings, and all these weird things happening. Did we just not hear about it before?
That's a good question, but I did see. I'm on Telegram, and there's this one influencer, I guess his name is BioClandestine, and he mentioned in September of 2023, he said, "Don't fly this winter."
Oh wow!
Yes.
That's almost like a year ago or so when
it
they
was
were.
September. It was six months ago.
Remember, like what was it, a year ago when they were saying watch the water?
Oh, yes.
There was all the watch the water stuff, and now you look at the Red Sea, and it's been a disaster ever since. You had the Evergrande that
I remember that.
went aground
the
and
container ships,
blocked the Suez Canal, and now you have all the conflict over there between Yemen and Gaza and everything else, and now it's stay out of the air. Is that what we're being told?
That's
like,
what
don't fly.
that's what BioClandestine said.
yeah.
And he said stay out or don't fly this winter. But that's what's I mean, you can see what's happening with
Well,
the
the
planes.
Boeing thing apparently has been going on for a while, and the whistleblower who turned up dead this week in South Carolina, apparently he has been he had already given some interviews and some information as far back as 2017,
Mm-hmm.
and then again in 2019, and so this stuff has been out. It's been really quiet, which is, I think, what's, to me anyway, that's what I think is more terrifying, is the fact that this didn't just start happening. This has been an ongoing thing,
and the public has been been none the wiser.
Yeah, and now the whistleblower ends up dead from a gunshot wound. Self-inflicted,
Self-inflicted, back of the head twice.
They say, yeah, like,
Or was he suicided?
Sure. It happens so much that it's not even a funny meme anymore. You know what I mean? Like it happens.
You
so much
expect it. You expect it now.
Do.
And I'm concerned about Trump. I really am concerned about him.
Yeah, it's
when he wins, they're not going to like that.
Hopefully he has good protection around him, and I think he does.
But how can you...
It takes one bad day.
We're all human. That's what I'm saying. We're all human, and it takes one...
It takes one wacko...
One weak link.
It takes one wacko and a little bit of luck.
That's right.
And it's you don't... We hate to see
because there's nobody else that can do what he can do, at least not right now.
Yeah, like I said, hopefully he has good people around him protecting him, and but it is a prospect. I mean, when you see this thing, but this Boeing thing, going back to the Boeing things, we got a little off topic. Yep. But Al Jazeera sent in a journalist to the Boeing factory. Did you see that?
No.
You didn't see that?
No.
Oh my God. So they had a reporter go into the Boeing factory, and now a handful of employees in a big factory, not a huge statistical sample, but their reporter went around asking people about the quality of the work in the factory, what goes on in the factory, and every single one of them said drug use was rampant. Now, this is hearsay. This is just but this is what they said to the reporter. This is only a small sample of a few, about
Boeing doesn't drug test.
If that's true, that is a terrifying thing.
That can't be true.
That would be a terrifying prospect, right?
It
if
is.
They're building aircraft and not.
Yes.
But that was the claim. I mean, the employees that were interviewed by Al Jazeera said they don't do drug tests. They said people go on their smoke break and smoke a joint and go back to work, or apparently a lot of different drugs are common over there. And in addition to the question, I think that was really frightening was they asked all of these people one question. You know what that question was? That they made sure that they asked everybody. Would you fly on these aircraft that you're building?
And they all said no.
They all said no.
No.
Every single one of them said no.
No.
And that was eye-opening watching that. I'm hesitant to believe everything we see on the internet. Okay.
Well, but when
a news organization, Al Jazeera, they're a pretty big organization, and when they go in and produce something, I'm skeptical of it, but it's it lines up with the whistleblower and his death, and now you have all these reports coming out of there. It's where there's smoke, there's fire.
Right. And now what's happening is these people used to be killed on a regular basis, and nobody was any wiser to it. But it's become so rampant now.
Well, they can't silence everybody.
They can't silence.
everybody,
And when we actually expect it, when we start saying, okay, this person's probably going to commit suicide.
Mm-hmm. That is a horrible prospect for us as as a society, for us to
when we're already guessing that they're going to commit suicide,
that should tell you everything we need to know that we have a serious problem.
We're that suspicious that, yes, like you said, where there's smoke, there's fire.
But typically, I mean, that's sort of the pattern when they want to make cultural change, is you normalize the behavior,
right,
little by little. And you see this a lot with like the trans movement, where, in the 90s, it was sort of like, they were out there. RuPaul was famous. He had his TV show. You had Ellen on TV, but it wasn't, there wasn't like this huge.
It wasn't so in your face like it is now.
It wasn't normalized. It wasn't being taught in schools, but the slow drip to slowly push it into the mainstream,
to the flood.
to now we've gone to a complete extreme where we went past accepting people for who they are and just saying, hey, live your life, you do you, go be happy, to
criminal behavior because
you're not like us.
We're not addressing them by their correct pronouns.
Yeah, if you don't.
So now it's criminal behavior. Yeah. Now you go to jail or you get fired or.
Well, and it's very demanding, and it's unrealistic. The expectation is unrealistic,
and it's not normal. It's not reality.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the left is really good at making rules when we don't need them. Yeah, I mean, that's the whole concept of liberal government is more rules, more government, more influence over other people's lives.
The oxymoron: liberal government, more rules, more.
Yeah, I mean,
when you're liberal means free.
Well, conservative by its very nature is less is more. Right. Less regulation is better than over. When you have too many rules, you can't follow them all. You can't keep up with them all.
Not only that, those laws keep building on each other. It's the chipping away at our rights.
But the left likes to make rules for the exceptions.
Sure.
They like to make laws because they have this mentality that when something bad happens, it's someone else's responsibility, particularly in this case, government, but it's someone else of authority's responsibility to make sure it doesn't ever happen again. And by their very nature, exceptions are not things that happen repeatedly under normal circumstances. So you shouldn't need rules to handle exceptions. You make rules to handle the norm.
Right.
And then the exceptions are going to happen, but you deal with those as they come. But that's just not that's why we're so divided as a country. Is half of us believe in making rules so nothing bad ever happens, and we want the government to control everything, and the rest of us are feel like less rules is more, and people should govern themselves. And
I feel that same way.
Yeah. So, one last thing, speaking of governing ourselves and making extra rules today, and this has been coming for a little while, and this is also, I think, I have mixed feelings on this, but the TikTok ban law, and it's literally being called that because our federal, on one hand, I don't like it because our federal government is picking out one company and saying, we're going to target you. We don't want you operating in our country. On the other hand, I think all social media is a problem.
Agreed. But there's a reason why this particular company is being singled out is because it's owned by the CCP.
Yes, there is that reason.
And kids are using this, and the CCP is gathering all our information when we're
that is the problem I have.
Even
with
from even if you don't, my understanding is even if you don't have the app, which I do not have it, even if you just click on a video, they can still grab your information.
Yeah,
that's my understanding of it.
So I can tell you from doing, I have done a little bit of app development with myself with Google Play Store and Apple Apple Store. And so I have one app that I developed years ago and published. And when you go through that process, they're very particular about what information you gather on somebody. The app that I came up with, they didn't want us collecting phone numbers and email addresses so that people could log in and use the app. We had to explain to them why we wanted to collect that information. And of course we weren't selling it. I say that honestly, we just needed a way to communicate with the user for the purpose of contacting them about information they were requesting from us. So, this was kind of an internal app for our sales team.
Right. I remember.
Yeah. And so there was no malicious intent there. I guess that's just, you kind of have to take my word for that. Okay. We weren't selling people's information. We weren't we weren't abusing it in any way. But we had to go through a lot of explanation.
You had to jump
and it
through
was
a lot
multiple
of hoops.
tiers because a lot of it's run by AI. So you have to send in a request or an explanation of your app in detail, what it does, why you have to collect personal data, how you store the personal data, what you do with the personal data. You have to tell them all this stuff. The fact that TikTok can collect our personal data, and not just the data we choose to give them, but they can collect data from our phone. If that's true, then our phone companies are in on this.
Oh, most definitely they are.
You see where I'm going with that? Because they're very particular about what you're allowed to collect. So if they're letting them collect like your device information and particulars, about your phone service and your location data, that's very, very private. That's a lot more private than just asking somebody for their phone number.
I think they develop backdoor. I don't know much about this, but some backdoor way of getting into your phone.
Well, I would be willing to bet that there is a security protocol that that the phone companies have to allow them to get that information.
Right.
That's my guess. That's my guess. That's my speculation.
But it's then we get into the conspiracy theory again. But I do believe that.
I mean, we know they have backdoors created for like law enforcement now to get into your phone, which they used to be very much against it. Remember there was the terrorist attack, the couple in San Bernardino, and the FBI was trying to get into their phones to find out who they were communicating with and how they set up the attack. And Apple would not cooperate because they were the terrorists. Yeah. So the fact that they're getting this information and that they're allowing China to collect this information on it, that worries me probably more than the kids watching TikTok videos. Like the cultural issue is a problem.
Right.
The cultural issue is a problem, but I'm more worried about our safety and security. Like, you understand?
Of course.
Because of all the cyber attacks and stuff coming from overseas.
I completely understand this, but this is why they were targeting. This is why they were targeting TikTok and not other social media platforms.
You don't think it's because Facebook gives money to
probably
the Uniparty?
Probably Facebook has a lot to do with it because they're losing market share because of TikTok.
Yeah.
Now.
If you can't beat them, buy them. That's the Facebook motto, right?
But guess who wants to buy them? Rumble.
I've heard that.
I sent you that last night.
Yeah.
That
they're
Rumble
probably not the only bidder.
No,
I'm going to guess they're not the only bidder.
No, probably not. But Rumble's come out saying that they are interested in purchasing TikTok.
I think there's special interests involved in this. I really do, and that's the only reason it's really getting banned. I don't think it would be.
Because of CCP.
Yeah, I don't think that this would even be happening without special interests wanting it. And by special interests, I mean the social media companies.
Right, Facebook.
Yeah,
Facebook being one of them, and
possibly
they are definitely losing market share. To TikTok.
As much as I try to give Elon Musk credit for defending our freedoms,
free speech.
I think he's let X kind of run rampant. Is from what I can do. I'm not even on there anymore. I got rid of Twitter.
I got rid of Twitter also.
X, and I don't use LinkedIn anymore really either. I mean, I
have to start using it again.
Yeah. But social media is like, they're protecting their turf and they don't want TikTok playing in it, and they've come up with a good reason. But I mean, me personally, I think they're all bad culturally.
Yes.
and I'm one of the worst about it, spending way too much time looking at stuff on there, but I can admit that it's a waste of my time, and I don't like it. Like, it's, there's better things we could all be doing with our time.
It's just an addiction.
Yeah.
It's an addiction. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm. But it all goes along with this like slow drip of cultural change, like with whether it's the trans movement or, socialism or
social warriors, social justice warriors,
social justice or whatever, BLM, whatever it is, they're all, they all get their momentum through social media.
That's right. It's the advertising.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way to reach people very quickly.
Yeah.
Far and wide.
Viral advertising.
That's
and
right.
Grassroots marketing, I guess. So, well, do you have anything to add, or are we?
Not at this moment, but I will
cover everything on
my list,
on your notes for today.
There's stuff that I want to talk about next time.
Oh, okay. You're going to do some homework for next week?
Oh, yes.
All right.
Yes.
Annie's going to come prepared next week with some
that would be Anna.
Anna Banana. Anna's going to have
great.
some
another nickname.
Yeah, Anna's going to come next week with some other good information that she's doing a little side project on. So until next time, thank you for watching. This has been Freedom Hawk Live, and if you like the video, please share it with your friends, subscribe, like. We're going to probably post
Don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah, please. Yeah, don't forget to do that. That really helps us get this out to
get the algorithms.
Get the algorithm. Yeah, you got to massage the algorithm a little. Give it. You got to feed it a little. Yeah, good old social media. Yeah. No. But we are gonna upload this. I think to our Rumble. We did just start.
We did.
Yes,
we got a Rumble account. Yes.
We have a Rumble now, so I'm kind of new to the whole Rumble wave. Very very late to the Rumble game, but we're gonna upload to Rumble.
He listened to me.
Yeah. Well, we had the Rumble account. We just haven't used it yet. So we're just, but I think we'll go ahead and get it on there too for folks that prefer Rumble. So thank you, and have a good night, and we'll catch you in the next video.
Take care, guys.
Yep.